A cry in the forest. The jungle was quiet, too quiet. Ryan moved slowly through the thick, green forest. He was a human soldier, alone on a scouting mission. His boots sank slightly into the soft alien soil. Trees were tall and twisted, their leaves glowing faintly in the low light. Strange birds chirped now and then, but there was no wind, no rustling, just silence. He didn't like it. Ryan touched the small communicator on his ear. No sign of movement. Still scouting Sector 4, he whispered. He moved forward again. Then he heard something, faint, soft, almost like crying. He stopped. There it was again. A small voice, crying. But it wasn't human. He followed the sound, pushing through thick bushes. The crying grew louder. Then suddenly from behind a tree, a small figure jumped out. Ryan raised his weapon but stopped. It was a child, an alien child. She was small, maybe 5 or 6 years old in human terms. Her skin was light blue, her hair white like snow. Her big eyes were full of tears and fear. She raised her hands. "Don't shoot! Please help my mom!" she cried. Ryan slowly lowered his weapon. "What? What happened to your mom?" The child pointed with a shaking hand. "She's trapped, please. A metal trap. Big teeth. She can't move." Ryan looked at her, so small, so scared, and then toward the direction she pointed. He knew this planet was full of wild animals and deadly plants, but a metal trap, that meant someone else was here. And they were dangerous. "Show me," he said. The child turned and ran through the jungle. Ryan followed her, pushing vines out of his way. The forest seemed darker here, the trees more twisted. They passed a deep pool with glowing water and strange buzzing insects. Still, the girl didn't stop. Then she halted. She pointed again. "There." Ryan stepped forward carefully. He saw her. The alien woman, probably the child's mother, was lying on the ground. Her leg was caught in a large metallic snare. The trap had sharp, jagged teeth. Blood stained the leaves around it. Her eyes were closed. She was breathing, but barely. "Mom!" the girl cried and ran to her side. Ryan looked at the trap. This wasn't made by animals. It was human-made, or at least made by intelligent hunters. "Who did this?" he asked. "I don't know," the girl said, crying harder now. "We were just walking. Then snap," she screamed. Ryan's mind raced. He had a choice to make. Call for help and wait, or try to rescue them himself. He knelt beside the woman. The trap was strong, too strong to open by hand. He took out his toolkit and began working. "Hang on," he said, more to himself than anyone. The girl sat beside her mother, holding her hand. "Will she die?" she asked in a small voice. Ryan didn't answer. Suddenly there was movement behind them. He froze. From the trees he heard footsteps, slow, heavy. Something was watching them. He turned around, aiming his weapon at the forest. "Stay behind me," he whispered to the girl. The trees shifted. Then silence again. Whoever, or whatever it was, had moved on. But Ryan knew this wasn't over. He looked at the trap again. Almost there. Click. He finally opened the jaws of the snare. The woman's leg was badly hurt but free. She groaned softly, still unconscious. Ryan picked her up and looked at the girl. "We have to go. Now." "But where?" she asked. "Somewhere safe." Ryan didn't know this jungle well, but he had seen an old stone structure, maybe ruins, on his way in. That would have to do. He carried the woman and followed the girl, who ran ahead, wiping her tears. She was brave, but Ryan could feel her shaking inside. As they moved deeper into the forest, Ryan looked back once more. He didn't like this planet, but right now, he had 2 lives in his hands, and he wasn't going to let them die. Predator in. The shadows of Ryan's boots crunched softly on the mossy floor as he carried the alien woman through the thick jungle. The child ran ahead, her white hair bouncing with every step. Her eyes darted left and right, watching the shadows. The alien woman was still unconscious in Ryan's arms. Her skin was cold. Her leg was bleeding again. The trap had done serious damage. Just a little further, Ryan muttered to himself. Just a little longer. The child suddenly stopped. She turned back to him, her voice quiet but sharp. We have to hide. Now. Ryan looked up. There it was again, footsteps. Slow, heavy, measured. They were not alone. Where? He asked. She pointed to a tall wall of twisted roots and vines. Behind it, the remains of an ancient stone temple stood, half broken but hidden. Nature had swallowed most of it. It was the perfect place to hide. Ryan followed her into the ruins. Inside it was dark and cool. Faint blue mushrooms glowed on the walls. The child pulled some vines to block the entrance. They come when they hear crying, she whispered. Hunters. They like pain. Ryan laid the alien woman down carefully. He checked her pulse, still weak, but steady. He opened his survival pack, crushed some herbs from his kit, and pressed them on her leg. It wasn't perfect, but it would slow the bleeding. Who are these hunters? He asked. They come every season, the girl said, sitting beside her mother. They say it's sport. They don't care if you're young or old. Humans? Ryan asked. The child shook her head. Not like you, they wear metal masks. Speak no words, they take trophies. Ryan's jaw tightened. Poachers. He'd heard of them. Some were humans, others aliens, mercenaries who hunted rare species on weak planets. They didn't care about law. They only cared about credits and blood. How many are there? Ryan asked. I saw 3, she whispered. But sometimes more come. Ryan's eyes scanned the jungle through the cracks in the wall. He didn't see anything, but he felt them. Then, something moved. Just outside the ruin, a figure walked slowly past. It wore dark armor, tall and silent. On its shoulder was a blaster. Its face was covered by a shiny metal mask with glowing red eyes. It didn't speak. It just stood still. Listening. Ryan didn't breathe. The girl held her breath too, her small hand clutching her mother's. The hunter turned his head slightly, then after a long pause he moved on. The girl whispered, They don't stop. They follow for days. Ryan looked at her, so small, so brave. He had seen soldiers with less courage. He checked his ammo, half a clip left, a few smoke grenades, his pulse gun. It wasn't enough. He took a deep breath and looked at the girl. What's your name? He asked quietly. Era, she said. Well, Era, I'm Ryan. And I promise you this, no one's taking your mother. Not while I'm alive. She nodded, trying to be brave. You're strong. Like the old stories. Ryan smiled a little. Stories? She looked at him seriously. The stories say humans used to fight monsters with nothing but fists and fire. That they laugh in pain. That they protect. Ryan chuckled. We're not all like that. But you are, she said. Suddenly, boom, the side of the ruins exploded. A flash of light, a gas grenade rolled in. Ryan grabbed Era and pulled her behind a stone column. He threw a smoke grenade in return, filling the air with thick, white mist. He lifted his weapon and peeked through. The smoke. 3 masked hunters entered, silent, precise, deadly. Era screamed as one of them spotted her mother and walked forward, aiming his weapon. Ryan acted fast. He fired 1 shot, direct hit. The hunter staggered but didn't fall. Run! Ryan shouted to Era. She hesitated. Run! She took off through the back exit of the ruin, a small gap between the stones. Ryan pulled the mother onto his shoulder and ran after her, pulse shots hitting the walls around them. He barely made it out alive. The hidden enemy. Rain began to fall. It was slow at first, soft droplets tapping on leaves. Then the jungle came alive with thunder. The sky turned black. The trees wept. But Ryan didn't stop. He carried the injured alien mother through thick mud, one arm wrapped tightly around her waist. Ira, the child, walked beside him, soaked and shivering. Her hand never left Ryan's belt. She was scared, but still moving. Behind them, the jungle wasn't quiet anymore. The hunters were calling something. Ryan had heard it. A deep, strange howl, metal and bone. It echoed across the trees. What was that? He asked. Era didn't speak. Her eyes were wide with fear. What did they release? They call it the sniffer, she whispered. It hunts by smell. It never stops, never sleeps. It finds anything. Ryan didn't like the sound of that. They reached a dark rock wall with a small opening, just big enough to crawl through. Ira nodded toward it. In there. It's safe. Old water cave. Ryan entered first, dragging the mother gently through the tunnel. Inside, the cave opened wide. Stale air, wet walls, cold. But it was shelter. He placed the woman down on a flat rock and covered her with his jacket. Her skin was hot, fever. Bad sign. Her leg wound had started to rot. He turned to Era. She needs medicine. I don't have enough. Era sat beside her mother. My people use jungle roots. I can find them. Ryan shook his head. Too dangerous. She stood. You saved us. Let me help you. Before he could answer, a sound echoed outside the cave. A deep sniffing noise. Mf, snf, like a massive creature breathing in the scent of prey. Ryan pulled Era back. He turned off his small flashlight. Darkness. Complete darkness. They couldn't move. Couldn't breathe loudly. Couldn't cry. The sound grew closer. Snf, snf. Click, click. Metal claws scraping on stone. Ryan aimed his pulse gun at the mouth of the cave. Then he saw it. A large, pale creature crawled inside. It had no eyes. Its head was long, nose wide like a hound's. Its skin was stretched tight over muscle and bone. Wires ran through its body, glowing faint red. It didn't walk. It slithered, like a nightmare born from wires and flesh. The sniffer. It sniffed again. Ryan didn't fire. Not yet. He reached into his bag slowly and took out a chemical flare. He whispered to Era, "Hold your breath." He cracked the flare and threw it deep into the tunnel behind them. The flare hissed, releasing smoke and scent. The sniffer snapped its head toward the smell. Then it turned and followed the false trail. Gone. Ryan let out a deep breath. Era sat down quickly. It will come back. Always does. Ryan knew she was right. I need to set traps, he said. Buy us time. He walked to the tunnel mouth and started rigging his remaining mines and grenades to a simple tripwire. His hands were fast, focused, efficient. Era watched him. You're not like the other humans I've seen. Ryan gave a small smile. I'm not like most humans anywhere. She tilted her head. Why are you helping us? You don't even know our names. Ryan paused. Because when I was a kid, no one helped me. I promised myself, if I ever had the chance, I would never leave someone behind. Era looked at him, eyes shining. Then I'm glad you found us. Suddenly, the alien woman groaned. Her eyes opened slowly. She looked around, confused, then tried to sit up, but winced in pain. Era ran to her side. Mom, you're awake. Ryan stepped closer. You were caught in a hunter's trap. I pulled. You out. The woman looked at him, this strange human, and nodded. Thank you. Her voice was weak but kind. Before they could speak more, a loud boom shook the cave. One of Ryan's traps had gone off. The sniffer had returned, and it wasn't alone this time. Through the vines at the entrance, Ryan saw red lights. 3 hunters stood in the rain, scanning the cave. He looked at the 2 aliens, mother and child, then back at the jungle. They found us again. The jungle trial. The cave walls trembled. Another explosion. Rocks cracked above them. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ryan gritted his teeth and grabbed the alien woman, pulling her close to the wall as Era clung tightly to his arm. They're blasting the cave entrance, Ryan muttered, trying to trap us inside. They never give up, Era whispered, her voice small and shaking. They always chase, until there's nothing left to chase. Ryan scanned the cave with his flashlight. The way they came in was collapsing. The tunnel behind them was still open, but it sloped downward deeper into the earth. I hoped we wouldn't have to go this way, he said. Era looked at the darkness. What's down there? No one knows, she replied. The elders say it's cursed, full of roots that drink blood. Ryan sighed. Better roots than hunters with rifles. He turned to the alien mother who was barely awake. Can you walk? She nodded weakly. A little, but not fast. Ryan helped her up, supporting most of her weight. Era led the way now, holding a small glowing crystal in her hand, blue light that barely lit the path. The tunnel grew colder with every step. The walls dripped with moisture. Fungi glowed in patches, green, red, violet. Strange symbols were carved into the stone. Ryan realized this was more than a natural cave. It was ancient. This isn't just a tunnel, he said. It's a ruin. Era nodded. My people once lived underground, long before the sky turned red. As they walked deeper, the cave narrowed. Ryan squeezed through one tight passage, then helped the others. Time was against them. Every few minutes, a distant rumble reminded him the hunters were still following. Then, the tunnel opened again into a wide underground chamber. It was beautiful. Blue vines hung from the ceiling, glowing faintly. A clear underground stream flowed through the room, surrounded by white flowers that seemed to breathe with the air. In the middle stood a large stone tree, twisted, hollow, silent. They stopped here to rest. Ryan set the alien woman down beside the stream and gave her water. She drank slowly, her hands trembling. Era knelt and pressed her head against her mother's side. You're safe now, she whispered. Ryan wasn't sure that was true. He checked his last smoke bomb. One shot left in his pulse gun. No more grenades, not enough to win a fight. But maybe enough to delay one. He looked around the chamber and began working. He broke vines and shaped them into trip lines. He pulled pieces of old rock and positioned them near the cave mouth. He rubbed special herbs on the floor, ones that would confuse the sniffer's scent. You've done this before, the alien woman said softly. Ryan gave her a tired smile. Too many times. She reached out and touched his arm. You risked your life for strangers. My people would not understand. Most humans wouldn't either, Ryan said. But maybe we don't need most people, just the right ones. She looked at him carefully. You lost someone, didn't you? He didn't answer for a moment. My sister. Years ago. We were trapped during a war. I left to find help. When I came back, it was too late. Silence hung heavy between them. I couldn't save her, he added, but maybe I can save you. Suddenly, crack. A noise behind them. Era stood up, eyes wide. They're close. I can feel it. Ryan grabbed his weapon and faced the narrow tunnel. A red glow flickered. One of the hunters entered, crouching low, eyes scanning. Behind him, the sniffer crawled, its long tongue flicking the air. Ryan didn't wait. He threw the smoke bomb, blinding the chamber. He shouted, "Run!" Era grabbed her mother and followed Ryan's voice. Through the smoke, they found another crack in the wall, tight, sharp, almost hidden. They crawled inside just as the hunter fired. The pulse beam missed by inches. Inside the new tunnel, Ryan pressed his back to the wall, breathing hard. He had cuts on his arms. Era had dirt in her eyes. The alien woman was barely awake again. But they were alive. Where does this tunnel go? Ryan asked. Era looked at the glowing moss ahead. It leads to the surface, she said. But we must pass the trial of roots. Ryan frowned. What trial? She pointed forward. From the ground, long red roots were rising, slowly twisting, moving like snakes. The jungle tests those who pass through here, she whispered. Only the brave survive. Blood moon rising. Ryan had faced many battlefields, burning cities, falling ships, alien worlds full of gunfire and death. But nothing prepared him for this. The tunnel of roots was alive. He stepped carefully, holding Era's mother on one side and Era's hand on the other. Red roots slithered under his feet. Some pulsed like veins. Others curled away, as if afraid, and some reached out, slowly, curiously, like fingers testing flesh. Above them, a crack in the ceiling let in faint crimson light. The blood moon had risen. "The trial has begun," Era whispered. Ryan scanned the path ahead. "What does it test?" "Truth," she said. "Pain. Memory." He didn't like the sound of that. They walked deeper. The roots grew thicker, tighter. The path narrowed again, forcing them to move single file. Ryan led the way, pulse gun ready. The alien mother limped behind him. Supported by Era, then, a whisper, faint, cold, just beside his ear. "You left her behind." Ryan stopped. "What was that?" he asked. No answer. Era looked up at him. "You heard it?" He nodded slowly. She swallowed hard. "It begins. The roots pull what hurts most." Ryan kept moving. He wouldn't let voices slow him down. But then, "You promised you'd return." He froze. A flicker of his sister's face flashed before his eyes, bruised, scared, calling his name from a burning building. It wasn't real. Couldn't be. He shook it off, but the roots ahead had changed. They blocked the path. Thick, thorny vines stood like a wall in front of them. No way around, no way back. "What now?" he asked. "The trial asks for something," Era said. "A truth, a gift, a pain." Ryan stared at the roots. "What do they want from me?" The whisper came again. "Say her name." Ryan's jaw tightened. "No, you left her." "I tried to save her," he shouted. The roots trembled. "But you failed." Silence. Then, slowly, the vines pulled back, opening the path. Ryan stood still, breathing hard. Era placed a small hand on his arm. "It's not punishment. It's memory. The jungle only. Let's the honest pass." They walked on. Era's mother groaned behind them. She was burning with fever now, mumbling in her sleep. "Too long," Ryan said. "She won't last like this." Just ahead he saw light, faint and green. Another chamber. They entered carefully. This one was full of roots too, but different. They glowed softly. And in the middle stood an alien tree with wide, leafless branches and golden fruit hanging. "Lo," Era gasped. "The tree of healing." Ryan moved toward it. "That fruit, it can help her?" She nodded quickly. "The elders said it cures poison, fever, even old wounds." He stepped closer. Suddenly, shk! The roots at the tree's base moved fast, wrapped around his ankles. Pulled tight, Ryan fell hard on his back. More roots crawled over his arms, pinning him to the ground. "Ryan!" Era screamed. He struggled. The tree bent toward him like it was watching. A voice, deep and ancient, spoke in his mind. "Why do you bleed for them?" He answered with a growl. "Because no one bled for me. You are not one of them. Why do you fight?" Ryan stared at Era, who knelt beside her mother with tears in her eyes. He looked at the woman, broken, barely breathing, but alive, and then he whispered, "Because they matter. And I won't fail them too." The tree was silent. Then the roots loosened. One golden fruit dropped into his hand. Ryan stood up, chest heaving. He took the fruit to the mother. Era helped lift her head. She took one bite, and within moments, the shaking stopped. Her breathing grew steady. The fever faded from her skin. Era gasped. "She's better. You did it." Ryan stood back, arms crossed. "No, you did it. You believed." Suddenly a deep rumble echoed behind them. The roots along the tunnel began retreating, clearing the path forward. They had passed the trial, but their journey wasn't over. As they stepped out into the open jungle once again, Ryan looked up at the sky. The blood moon glowed high above. And on a distant ridge, 3 hunters stood, watching, their helmets turned toward him. The hunt wasn't over, but now he had something they didn't expect, a reason to fight. The last stand. The jungle held its breath. No wind, no birds, no whispers from the roots. Just silence. Ryan stood at the edge of the ancient forest, his pulse gun gripped tight, sweat mixing with blood on his brow. Behind him, the alien mother rested against a stone. Her breathing was calm now, thanks to the golden fruit. Ira stood beside her, holding a sharpened stick like a spear, her tiny hands shaking but ready. Above them, the blood moon burned red in the sky. And on the opposite ridge, the hunters came. 3 of them, tall, armored, silent. Their masks glowed, with faint red light. No mouths, no eyes, just cold metal. They moved as one, trained, efficient, ruthless. Ryan muttered, "They're not backing off. This is it." Ira looked up. "Can we win?" He checked his weapon. 1 shot. That's all he had left. "No," he said. "But we can hurt them." She nodded, trying to be brave. The lead hunter raised a long-range cannon. Boom! The shot slammed into a tree behind them. Bark and fire exploded outward. Ryan rolled to cover, grabbed a fallen branch, and launched it toward the side, drawing fire away from Era and her mother. "They're trying to split us up," he growled. Then, without warning, the second hunter disappeared. "Cloak tech," Ryan muttered. "One's flanking." He planted his last proximity mine in the dirt and shouted, "Ira, don't move." Ira shielded her mother. Ryan waited. Click. The mine exploded. 1 hunter down. The blast threw sparks into the sky. The 3rd hunter opened fire, forcing Ryan to dive behind a rock. He landed hard, his ribs aching. He was out of tricks, out of ammo, and then the jungle stirred. At first it was just the leaves, then the roots, then the earth itself. Ryan looked around in disbelief. The vines that had tested them before were rising again, but this time, they weren't attacking, they were protecting. Red roots twisted into the air and lashed toward the hunter. One wrapped around its leg, yanking it off balance. Another smashed its blaster from its hand. From the shadows, something moved. The tree, the ancient one from the chamber. They thought it was just a relic. But now it was awake. Its roots tore from the ground and moved like living snakes, guided by an unseen force. Era gasped. "It remembers." "Remembers what?" Ryan asked. "Your pain, your fight. You gave truth to the trial. Now it fights for you." Ryan stood tall, battered but unbroken. The final hunter aimed one last shot at Era. Bang, Ryan didn't think. He dove in front of her. The shot hit his shoulder, hard. He fell to his knees. But it didn't matter, because the next moment, a massive root burst from the ground and wrapped around the hunter's body. It squeezed until metal cracked and armor shattered like dry bone. Then silence. Only the sound of rain returning to the leaves. Ryan blinked. His vision blurred, but he felt Era's arms wrap around him. "You did it," she cried. "They're gone." He looked up at the trees above, breathing shallow, blood dripping down his arm. "No," he whispered with a tired smile. "We did." Era's mother limped over, her hand now strong enough to hold his. "You're not just a warrior," she said softly. "You are a guardian, a protector." Ryan closed his eyes. He didn't feel like a hero, but for the first time in years he didn't feel alone either. As the blood moon faded and the sun began to rise over the jungle, the roots slowly settled back into the earth. The forest went quiet again, but not empty. It had chosen, and Ryan had been claimed not as a visitor, but as part of its story.